Dragons Rising Season 3 has finally officially released after the annual Part 2 leak, of course, where we saw the first 8 episodes get leaked 2 or 3 months ago now. And then, of course, how could we forget about the episode 19 and 20 leaks that came out just over a week before the official release. But now that it has been a few weeks since the season has officially come out, the season has now marinated in my mind for a bit, and I feel like I can finally give it a proper review without any recency bias being involved at all. So without further ado, let's talk a bit about Part 1. So I won't spend too much time talking about Part 1 because that is basically old news right now, because it literally came out like 6 or 7 months ago, so no one really cares about it. But of course, I didn't make a video on it back then for whatever reason, so I do want to express some of my thoughts on it now. So I feel like the best place to start is with Aaron's whole villain arc, as that was one of the biggest talking points coming into this season. So yeah, I did really enjoy his whole evil arc. In Part 1, I liked seeing Aaron's sort of darker side come out at times, like when he used Benjitsu on Thrak, and of course using his anger to give him strength, while at the same time seeing that Aaron is of course still that good person at heart. Like when we see him have dinner with that family, I did find that a bit weird, because who just invites some random person into their house, especially after you see them randomly talking to your kid. Anyway, it was also cool to see Aaron battle with his own identity. Like, I don't exactly remember when this happens, but Ra says something and someone calls Aaron and Ra's a villain, and that makes Aaron start questioning whether or not he is actually a villain, and he has sort of a mini identity crisis. And then of course we see this go in the opposite direction when Tia calls him a hero after he defeats Thunderfang. So, still continuing with Aaron, I guess we should talk a bit about Part 2 now. So now that Sora has joined Aaron, we see Aaron be a bit more chilled and a bit more like his actual self, you could say. Other than of course the times when Sora messes with Roz. Anyway, let's now move on to the scene where they make their way to the underworld. And side note, I do like how we get some lore on that, being like how the underworld moves all the time. So yeah, as soon as they get down there, we of course see Cruncher and Knuckle, and words could not describe how happy I was to finally see them again after over a decade of absence, even if it was only for a short cameo. But obviously the main thing that happens in this scene is when Aaron and Sora take on Raz, as Raz wants to basically kill Sora to obtain a dragon icon. And this fight really does show just how powerful Raz is, while also showing us how far Aaron and Sora have come in their ninja journey, as actually managed to defeat Raz. Whereas only 2 seasons ago, they got absolutely obliterated by him. We then get to see Aaron come to accept that he will never be able to see his parents again, which would have been such a good and emotional scene if we didn't already know at the time that they were actually alive and just in the Land of Lee. And speaking of the Land of Lee, that is of course the location where Aaron ends up having his long-awaited reunion with his parents. Anyway, Aaron doesn't really get to have much time with his parents because, you know, he kind of has to save the world or something important. And while he is off saving the world of Floyd, Aaron tells him that he wants to quit the ninja team, since he has his parents now. And I'm not really sure how I feel about this. I mean, sure, for the last season or so, Aaron has sort of betrayed the ninja by leaving with Raz, so maybe he feels that it would be weird for him to go back, and also, he now has his parents back, so he would obviously want to spend some time with them. But on the other hand, being a ninja was Aaron's biggest dream come true, and now he just wants to throw it all away. Anyway, as we know, Aaron and Lloyd do use a Crystal of Focus, or whatever it was called, to summon the Arc Dragon of Focus. And one thing that I really don't like about this part is that Lloyd and Aaron have to control the dragon while it fights Thunderfang. But that's not what I hate about this, by the way. As we see, when Lloyd, the very experienced and legendary Green Ninja, tries to take control, Thunderfang absolutely batters the Arc Dragon. But then, when the inexperienced Aaron takes the lead, the Arc Dragon then starts to absolutely batter Thunderfang and defeats him quite easily. And what I don't like about this is that it just doesn't make any sense at all. Why does Aaron suddenly have this ability? Also, why does the show keep on trying to tell us that Aaron is supposed to be the most powerful ninja of all time? Because obviously, we all know that Lloyd's supposed to be the most powerful. I mean, he could once control the 4 elements of creation and also harness the powers of the first Ninjutsu master. He can't really get much more powerful than that. But the show has consistently tried to push the fact that Aaron is this all-powerful being ever since the finale of Season 1. I even mentioned this in my Season 1 review. And don't get me wrong, I'm not just saying this because he has no elemental powers or because I hate Aaron, because if you watch my ninja ranking video, I'm pretty sure he was at least in my top 3. I'm saying this makes no sense because he obviously just cannot be the most powerful ninja ever, and he has also showed no real potential of this either. Anyway, let's just see what I end up taking as character in the following seasons. Another character that I really want to talk about is another one of my favorites, being Jay. So right off the bat, how cool is it to finally see Jay back on the ninja team again? We have really missed him in the last 2 seasons. So obviously, in part 1, Jay had turned into a bounty hunter after leaving Rising Season 2, while also refusing to go to the hairdresser. So Jay in part 1 really did remind me a whole lot of Ronin, not only because his design is quite similar, but also because they both would do pretty much anything for the money. And we didn't really get to see too much of this version of Jay. It was pretty much just like little snippets in every episode or so, until of course the very last episode of part 1, where he gets pulled into the Thunderfang fight during his pursuit of Raz, and where he also hurts his leg, which takes us into part 2. So after the Thunderfang fight, Lloyd feels sad because not only Aaron has left now, but also Sora as well. But now that the ninja have Jay, they don't actually know that Aaron's parents are alive, so they bribe Jay to take them to Aaron's parents. And this is where we get to see the scene that almost bring a tear to my eye. I can't even lie. So we see Jay finally come into his own when the ninja infiltrate the administration. We see his humor, charm, and just overall character for the first real time in Dragons Rising, which was just so much fun to finally see again. And let's just skip over the whole Land of Lee part of the season because I want to talk about that separately. So after the ninja leave the Land of Lee, Jay immediately turns into this like very rude and unlikable person, but just towards the ninja for some reason. But regardless, I still liked him, and I think that is probably just down to the fact of how happy I was to see him again. We also do see some of his shattered goodness side, as his first idea is to always attack, like we see with the tournament bots. Anyway, when the ninja are ready to release the Arc Dragon of Focus, Jay is supposed to go with Nia, but he bails on her as he feels he has just been dragged along this whole journey without receiving any payment from Lloyd or the ninja like he was promised. But of course, the writers couldn't end Jay's Season 3 story like this, because just when Nia needed him most, Jay comes back to save her, saying that when he is around her, he wants to be good. And I think that is a very solid ending to his arc this season, even if a lot of people may disagree. So of course I want to talk about the Land of Lee for a bit, because this might just be my favourite Dragons Rising arc so far, because there are just so many things that make this little story so great. First of all, I just wanted to get out of the way. Am I the only one that finds that the Land of Lee looks very similar to this location from the Lego Movie 2? Because I'm very surprised to see that I haven't heard anyone else making that comparison. I mean, the Land of Lee clearly takes inspiration from this place, because both places have an almost identical layout. Both places showcase people that are very overly happy, almost like they are being mind controlled. And also, both places have people that like to break out into a song and dance as well. Anyway, back on track, I think the main reason that I really like this arc is because of everything that was going on. Obviously, the main plot point was that the ninja want to find where Aaron's parents are, but there is also so much more than that. We get to see Jay and Nia become more of a couple again, and we also get to see the ninja uncover the mystery of the Land of Lee itself, and who really is. And speaking of Lee, why was he genuinely like a very good villain? Maybe even the best from this entire season. And a lot of you may agree with me, according to the community post that I posted a few months ago. He was a very interesting character, to say the least. he could make as many copies of himself as he wanted, and he was also initially shown to be a very happy and chill guy, but deep down, as we see from the flashbacks, which are very good by the way, he is actually just very lonely, and the whole purpose of creating this mini town deep within the land of Lee was so he would have company. And yeah, it was a bit weird and quirky, but it is just a very good story overall. And when we are speaking of great villains, we of course can't forget about Lord Roz, because he was absolutely amazing in season 2, but this season, especially the second part, took him to a whole nother level. So starting in part 1, Roz was quite sick. I don't exactly remember why he got sick all of a sudden. I think it might have been something to do with the Forbidden Firefight. But anyway, he was sick and he needed Aaron to get some healing elixir to save him. And on the journey, Roz trained him as well and actually helped Aaron improve quite a bit. Anyway, once he finally gets back to full fitness, he begins his rampage, if you will. He immediately goes to show Aaron his parents' grave before then attacking some dragons in the forest and then getting taken by the Forbidden Five. So now we move on to season 2. Roz is now not only joined by Aaron, but Sora as well. And it seems like Sora is just trying to make a joke out of everything, and Roz is not too impressed with that. But as Sora says, Roz needs them, so he'll be willing to deal with it. And needs them he does, because once they make it to the underworld, he casually goes up to Sora and goes, "Hey Sora, do you want to sit in a bathtub full of lava for me real quick?" Essentially meaning that Roz wants to kill her to get the Source Dragon icon. So as I mentioned before, Roz, Aaron and Sora get into a little bit of a fight that results in Aaron and Sora escaping and Roz getting crushed by some boulders. And then for the rest of the season, it seems like he takes that personally, as he basically turns up yet another level, as now he is absolutely ruthless. He goes straight to the monastery and learns that the ninja have the Source Dragon of Motions icon, and he absolutely obliterates Shiro and Frohiki, but that isn't really that big of a deal now, is it? Anyway, it now seems that Roz will be the big villain of season 4, unless some new villains just come out of nowhere. If I had to guess, the next season will focus heavily on Roz's mission to get all of the Source Dragon icons, and if I had to make a prediction, in season 4, Roz will get, yeah, I'll say it, all of the Source Dragon icons, and we will also find out who Roz's master is at the very end of the season as well. A lot of people say that it is probably the Source Dragon of Strength, which I think is the most likely option right now, but people are also saying that it could be the Overlord, which I really hope isn't the case, because I don't want to see him back, not this soon. And since we're on the topic of next season, we also do have to talk about how this season ended. So as we know, all of the ninja have been split up into 3/technically 5 separate groups. We have Lloyd and Aaron trapped together in what a lot of people are theorizing to be the Netherrealm, which would be cool to see what it looks like, but now that it is in the merged realms, especially if that means we will see Akita again. Then we see Kai, Nia and Jay all trapped together, which I think will be like the main group they focus on next season, because of course Jay and Nia seem to finally be more of a couple again. And then finally, we see Sora, Frak, Wildfire and Ryo together, and this one will be interesting because it is obviously all new Dragons Rising characters, and as we all know, Frak also has a huge crush on Sora. I wonder if that will develop at all. And also I said the ninjas split between 3 to 5 groups. That is because Cole is currently in the monastery with Showa and the Finders because he was hollowed for the last few episodes. And finally, as we said at the start of this second part, Zane and Pixel go on their own journey around the merged realms, which by the way, why did they sideline Zane for basically the whole season? That just really pisses me off. We need some more Zane focus next season, please. We're meant to get to this season, but we didn't. Anyway, if I had to guess, at the start or at some point during next season, Zane and Pixel will end up finding Cole and the Finders, and they will probably go on their own little journey, which could maybe even be like the main journey of the season, as they could be the ones who go after Roz as all of the other ninja are stranded due to them releasing the Arc Dragon and Focus and are now enemies of the Sources or something. And I am very excited to see where this takes their story. Let's now jump on to the villains again, and let's talk about arguably the most disappointing villains, the Forbidden Five. I mean, where do we even start with these guys? Because I think they all genuinely had like maybe 100 to 150 lines throughout the entire season combined, and most of that was probably just in that one fight scene between Nia, Sora and Rox in Ninjago, which by the way was not a great fight. It took away a lot from the story. I guess it was cool to see the ninja use wishes imaginatively again like we saw in Skybound, but overall it really just felt like it took away from the main story. But hey, at least that gave the Forbidden Five at least something to do. But unfortunately I can't say the same with Noct, because I was expecting a lot from him this season, as of course he was the only one that we saw last season, and I definitely didn't exactly love him last season, but I felt like he had potential. But unfortunately, he really added nothing of value in the season whatsoever. In fact, the only thing I really remember him doing was having that fight with Raz at the end of part 1, which was a very underwhelming fight. And then we have one of the better Forbidden Five members, Drix. So the only reason that I say Drix is good is obviously just because of that one episode where he pretty much 1v10s Ninja and Raz and manages to get away with both of the blades. Also, his insect powers are pretty cool, but it is a shame that we barely got to see it. And then with Kerr, I don't really remember anything he did other than decay Groby. And finally we have Zarkt. I'm not gonna even bother saying anything about him because he was just as useless as the Destiny's Bounty trying to stay intact for 2 seasons in a row. And now we obviously have to talk about the big bout of this season, Thunderfang. Thunderfang was not great. The best way that I can describe him is as a big, bulked up dragon version of Asphyra. Because as we all know, Asphyra just loves saying the word revenge over and over again, while Thunderfang basically does the same thing, but he instead says, "The Source Dragons, you will rue the day you rejected me," or something along the lines of that. Anyway, he is probably the weakest main Dragons Rising villain so far, and honestly, if the Rama didn't exist, he might even be the worst. And for a Chaos Dragon, he really didn't cause much chaos, because in part 1, the ninja managed to pretty much contain him to that one spot before Aaron obviously managed to defeat him, and they also prevented him from causing any damage whatsoever. And then in part 2, he was also pretty easily defeated by the Arc Dragon of Focus, and he again didn't really cause any chaos as he was contained to the Spectral Lands for the entire season. And what makes things even worse, that for the majority of part 2, we don't even really see him. Like he genuinely may have had less than 3 minutes of screen time before the last episode. And yeah, I think that is everything that I wanted to talk about in this video. Let me know your opinion on this season, because from what I have heard, this season has been getting pretty heavily criticized. But however, apart from the villains, I did really enjoy this season. It definitely isn't better than season 2, but I think I did enjoy it a lot more than season 1, and I definitely think this is in my top 5 seasons. But maybe that's just a hot take. And if you want to see some other Dragons Rising hot takes, I made a video where I went through some of your guys' biggest hot takes. Anyway, see you later, be ninja.